Hi everyone! Once again, I ask you to start up your DeLoreans, TARDISes, time turners, Wayback Machines, or whatever means you use to travel through time, as we are going back to the year 2006. What happened in the year 2006? Yes, as we all remember, not many people liked X-Men The Last Stand back when it came out, but I didn't think it was all that bad actually. The mutant cure storyline was thought-provoking, and it created some interesting conflicts between the heroes and the villains, and the cast did a pretty good job with the material they had to work with. Unfortunately, the film hits us with several bombshells, such as introducing the Phoenix, along with characters dying or losing their powers. And while some of these bombshells generated the proper response, others just felt underwhelming, which is how I could sum up the entire movie really, and since at the time this was pretty much the end of the primary X-Men franchise, that was not a very good thing. But enough about that. The real reason why I'm talking about X-Men 3 is because of the scene that plays after the opening credits. I went into this film with very little knowledge about what the overall plot was, so when I saw that scene playing out, it instantly reminded me of the comic book storyline, Days of Future Past. Unfortunately, this all turned out to be a Danger Room simulation, but considering X-Men 3's critical feedback, I'm willing to bet money that the writers wish they had gone down the Days of Future Past route in terms of story. Well, it's been 8 years, but Days of Future Past has finally been made. But was it worth the wait? Let's take a look and find out. This is short and to the point, and I review movies in 5 minutes or less, or your money back.
Previously on X-Men.
There are dark forces, Wolverine. Human forces building a weapon that could bring about the end of our kind.
Why would I trust you?
You wouldn't. Hello, Logan.
How is this possible?
As I told you a long time ago, you're not the only one with gifts.
Days of Future Past begins in the not-so-distant future, with human and mutant alike being hunted down by machines known as Sentinels. Why these Sentinels are suddenly now on the loose is not explained, which is a problem because the post-credit sequence of the Wolverine made it seem like the X-Men knew about them ahead of time, but in this film we never found out how the X-Men knew or who even activated the Sentinels, which makes for a very jarring transition between the Wolverine to Days of Future Past. But still, I enjoyed the future sequences. They have a tense, Terminator-like feel to them, and the Sentinels even have the ability to copy a mutant's powers, which makes them all the more dangerous. Because of this, our heroes have to get creative and combine their powers in certain ways to fend off the Sentinels, which makes for some very impressive scenes of action. However, because of the Sentinels' great number, the only hope for the future is for a lone mutant to go back into the past and stop them from ever being created. The kicker is that in order to do that, the mutant has to save the creator of the Sentinels, Bolivar Trask, from being killed by Mystique, as his death serves as the trigger for the government to begin work on his Sentinel program. Because Wolverine's mind is the only one that can survive the trip back, He is sent into the past, while the remaining mutants protect his body and Kitty Pryde in the future, or I mean the present, whatever. Kitty possesses the ability to transfer a mutant's conscious mind into their past body, and if the connection between her and Wolverine's mind is lost, he will be removed from the past, and any changes he's made will become the new present. If you're wondering how Kitty does this, the movie does not explain that either, and that's gonna cost it some points. The bulk of the film takes place in 1973, but we do revisit the future every now and then, and the moments when we transition from the past to the future were chosen wisely. The film does play up the fact that we're in the 70s for comedy quite a bit, but things do get serious once Charles and Magneto enter the picture. While their relationship is still an important and enjoyable part of the film, the true focal point of the movie is Mystique. She was always an enigma in the original trilogy, as her only defining traits were her loyalty to Magneto and her hatred for humans, while X-Men First Class showed that she had a more or less happy upbringing with Charles. In this film, we see that she's at the crossroads between those two personalities, and Jennifer Lawrence does a good job of portraying them both, while the writing also does a good job showing why the Mystique of X-Men First Class will go on to be the Mystique of the X-Men trilogy if she is not stopped. Unfortunately, the only person that can stop her is Charles, and he has changed since we last saw him. He's become a broken man as his school's been closed for some time now due to the Vietnam War, and James McAvoy does a very good job playing this new side of the young professor. His only companion is Hank McCoy, aka Beast. Beast doesn't get that much characterization in this film, but Nicholas Hoult does a good job portraying his typically nerdy side and his inner raging animal well. Seeing Wolverine acting as a mentor figure to the young professor made for a good role reversal, and it even kept Wolverine interesting without coming at the expense of other characters' screen time. In addition to his broken personality, Charles now hates Magneto with a burning passion, but once again, Magneto is written in such a way that it's hard to argue with his point of view, and Michael Fassbender still plays him with that commanding presence that we all know and love. Getting back to the future, as much as I liked its atmosphere, I wasn't a fan of how the future mutants, with the exception of Professor X, Magneto, and Wolverine, didn't get much characterization. These are characters we've never seen before, so I wanted to know how they felt about living in this ruined future in better detail than we got. But instead, newcomers Bishop, Blink, Sunspot, and Warpath, along with familiar faces Colossus, Kitty, Iceman, and Storm, feel somewhere in between cannon fodder and people we care about. But in the end, I did think that X-Men Days of Future Past is an enjoyable film. While I liked X-Men First Class more as it felt like all the protagonists were on equal footing, this film still has a well-paced story that gives us plenty of inventive action scenes and good characterization at the same time. Sure, some parts of the story are predictable, but other parts legitimately caught me off guard, such as what the young Magneto does throughout the film. I would like to give this movie an 8 out of 10, but due to the poor transition from the Wolverine to this film, along with the other criticisms I made, I am going to give it 7.5 genetic mutations out of a possible 10, but I do recommend it for a theatrical viewing. This has been short and to the point, and I review movies in 5 minutes or less, or your money back. Well, that's 3 movies down in the summer season, and I'd like to say at least 4 more to go for me, but my executive producer has demanded that I see more films despite my shoestring budget. I have some ideas about what other movies I can review, but I am going to sleep on those choices for now. I will see you all next time. Bye.
I've never seen anything like this before.
We are the future, Charles, not them. They no longer matter.
Hold on to something.
Don't give up on them. Mankind has evolved.
Not anymore.